I'd like to welcome everybody and acknowledge the traditional custodians of the grounds on which we meet today and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. Welcome, and I'm going to hand over to Rachel to run this today. Over to you, Rach.
Hey guys, hope everyone's doing well. We had a discussion about talking about all the feelings that we should talk about when we're coming up to the festive or the Christmas season. So we said, let's talk Christmas and the New Year and the festivities. So I just have to say, I reckon even some of the most hardened of Santa's reindeers feel a bit of anticipation and excitement, but also butterflies, nostalgia, frustration, stress with the impending Christmas break. And I was really curious to know that even there's a theory actually behind these emotions when we think about Christmas. So researchers in Denmark did some functional MRIs, and they noticed that parts of the brain actually lit up like a Christmas tree when people were shown Christmas images against people that weren't shown non-Christmas images. So we've actually got a biochemical and physiological phenomenon to these responses. The other thing is that Relationships Australia cited that in a study that Christmas was considered as one of the most stressful life events, along with divorce, moving house and changing jobs. So if you are feeling a little stressed and anxious out there, there's a lot of good reasons why you may be. But anyway, I don't want to sound like the Grinch or Ebenezer Scrooge. There's a lot of things to do to get through Christmas, and it does have a touch of magic that we don't feel for the rest of the year. And regardless of, I think, of religious beliefs, Christmas time and having festive season is a great time for hanging out with family and a time for reflection, a bit of a time to pause with our families and those who are dear to us, and just even making the effort to get into contact with people that we don't normally get in contact, but we do so because it's Christmas. I was thinking the other day about actually on Christmas Day growing up, how many hours we spent on Christmas Day trying to use a rotary dial phone to call people overseas using an international code and having that repetitive beep, 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 beep engaged tone. It was just because we couldn't get through. So some tips for enjoying the silly season. I looked around to all the websites to see what people had to say about how do we put on our best guard and get through. And I went to the Michael J. Fox website first, and of course he says, put yourself first. Exercise, eat and sleep well, but that's easier said than done. It's even harder when you're busy with a very long to-do list. So, but he goes back and says, make yourself and your health a priority, schedule exercise alone or with others to ease mood changes and other Parkinson's symptoms. And I guess that always goes back to us harping on about the value of exercise and how that can appease and atone emotion. Parkinson's medications and making sure that you've got a good supply throughout this season is important. Remember that a lot of the neurologists and the geriatricians and allied health services and even Parkinson's New South Wales do flex down over this Christmas time. So check your scripts, make sure you've got your GP appointments. And I know it's really difficult to get appointments with your neurologist and your GP, so I'd start making them now for January. And guess what? If you don't need it, you can cancel it. There was a suggestion to have a secret stash of whatever levodopa or anti-Parkinson's medication that you've got. And they suggested that you put it up on the high shelf next to that really good Christmas brandy. Okay, it's a little emergency supply. If you're traveling via train or planes, fill your suitcases with your medications, use your carry-on luggage, and put a stash in your traveling companion's bag if they're coming along with you as well. Which brings me to my most favourite joke that Morel loves. Can I tell it? Can I ask it? Why don't vultures check in their luggage? Does anyone know? Because they prefer carry-on. Leslie, I can see you. Anyway, even if you've stashed your luggage and everybody else's luggage with your medications, and if you're like me, I'm a little bit disorganized and I do leave things behind. So even recently I went up to Bathurst and I forgot to take my tablets with me for my blood pressure. Not as all is lost. I found out through my GP that because he uses a hot doc system, that I could actually go on to hot doc, and I repeated a request prescription, which had a fee. I think it was about $25. I'd taken a photograph of my script so I could tell them exactly what I wanted, and then the GP did the script. He faxed it to the GP. I found a GP in Bathurst where I was heading, and by the time I got there, my medications were sitting on the bench waiting for me. So I think life's a lot easier with technology too. And then the GP faxed through my script, and then they actually posted it to me as well. So it was pretty good service. So not all is lost if you do forget or you haven't packed enough. I think if you're going overseas, and I don't know why I wrote this, but even going to Queensland, you need to manage changes in time zones and medication zones. And my advice is to stick to your medication dose cycles as much as you can. Yeah. There was a lot of information and discussion on the websites about how to manage stress and anxiety and dealing with your families. And they really emphasize that if you can communicate with your needs to some of your friends and family who you may be visiting or who might be staying with you, explain to them how beneficial it is to maintain your routine as best you can and plan realistic activities for the day. So you don't have to build Rome in a day at Christmas time. Plan some rest times and some downtime during the day. Interesting enough, on Michael J. Fox, they were talking about if you haven't seen family or they haven't seen you for a while, they may have some comments that might be a bit confronting. So they suggest there is a link, and it's called Visiting with Family Members Who Have Parkinson's. Tell your family members to look it up. There's some very useful tips like explaining how motor symptoms can really fluctuate throughout the day or from day to day, that some symptoms like a tremor may exacerbate if you're feeling stressed and anxious, and explaining why sometimes it might take a little while for you to answer a question or having some word finding difficulties. And even that a masked face doesn't mean you're grumpy or disconnected. So that was a really good resource that you could, if you were worried about people's comments or the way they regarded you, you could tell them to do a little homework before you visit or they visit you. I've always recommended, thanks to Morel, who found a picture of the Lego man. If you want to explain to grandchildren about Parkinson's, that's a great little resource to explain some of the symptoms that they may see in you. So, and apathy, depression, and anxiety, we know they're fairly common non-motor symptoms already, but acknowledging that Christmas time can exacerbate these symptoms too. And I think it's good to acknowledge that this could happen, and so that you kind of take a little bit more control over what's going on. What is it in saying? It just goes back to communicate what you need to your family members or your friends, and don't expect people to know what you need. We don't know unless you tell us, I guess, is a good strategy, isn't it? Managing gift buying can be financially stressful. I think we do waste a lot of money on the notion that we've got to go and get somebody something just because it's Christmas. I remember my husband was telling me when he was a kid, he was a child in Scotland, and he said the most exciting item in his Christmas stocking as one of 6 kids was getting an orange and some walnuts. So maybe some simple things are great too. But there is this thing that we've got to go out and get these things because it's Christmas. If wrapping gifts is a tricky thing to do, does the shopping centre offer free wrapping of gifts? That's a great option and strategy too. Alcohol is definitely part of the festive season. So, we do say enjoy a glass or two, but please drink in moderation. While you think that the alcohol may initially relax you, over time and in excess, it can contribute to anxiety and depression, because it lowers your serotonin and your norepinephrine levels, which both help regulate mood. So in excess, that can tip the balance. And also it will, we do get dehydrated from alcohol, and it may contribute to perhaps an already overstimulated bladder. So set a limit on your alcoholic drinks, or add in soda, water, to wine, for instance, and drink sparkling water in between. Staying well hydrated if traveling is definitely important, and definitely on Christmas Day. So on a Christmas Day, tips from Parkinson's survivalists. If you're hosting, pace yourself. You know it's going to be hectic, and can any food preparation be done in advance? If you've got lots of people, are you able to ask them for help and assistance? Remember, it's far more fun when activities are shared than having to do it all on your own. Consider potluck meals or delegating out the menu, and tell people specific items. Don't just say bring a dish, because I did that once and I ended up with about 5 potato salads and nothing else. So then we had a rating of potato salads, but tell people what you want them to bring and spread it out. Ham for one, salad for another, roast buds for another, and nobody really minds doing these things. They say, what shall I bring? And they say, don't bring anything, so you've got to take Cadbury favourites. So we do bring things. Christmas lunches are where we report we go later into food comas. It can be pretty indulgent. So, be careful of what you eat, and remember that protein out from that big ham and that big turkey could interfere with the absorption of your tablets, of your levodopa tablets. One suggestion I found was to space your tablets around the meals, or have the big protein ticket items at the end of the day. A wise person always says, eat with your stomach, not with your eyes. And if I could actually adhere my own advice, I'd be much better off too. If you're struggling with communication, let people around you know that you need some time, and turn down the blaring TV or the Christmas carols. And if you're totally overwhelmed by the whole event, scale Christmas back to the 1 or 2 people you really want to be with, and having the strength to say, I prefer not to, if you don't want to. Now, on my last note, before I ask everybody else's tips, because this is where I find out what the real tips are, you know that I'm going to talk about constipation and the Christmas turkey. So please make sure that you still have your daily bowel motions. I know you're not going to get a holiday at Christmas. Use the appearance that you normally do. Take the time to sit on the loo, put your knees up, elbows on your knees, and relax. Make sure you manage to get to sleep, because sleep and pooing are the most annoying on a good day. So get some rest so that you can manage these festivities. Make sure you've got time for exercise, a brisk walk around the block, the paddock or the football field. And so the summary for enjoying Christmas: plan ahead. Don't overinflate your expectations. Don't try to do everything. Everything in moderation. Rehydrate. Get active the morning after. Sleep. And finally, don't forget to breathe.
Yeah, it's very handy.
The passport or the
both.
Both, yeah.
The app for my chemist.
You do use the app?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. And so does that mean that when you get your script from your GP, you just scan it to the app? Is that how you do it?
You can just order, click next to the medication name and order from the app, and pay for it in advance, or pay for it when you get it, or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, you can pick it up, or they can deliver it, or whatever. It's really great.
That is very seamless, isn't it? Because you're more likely to leave your kidney behind than your mobile phone.
Yeah.
So that's, you definitely got your phone with us, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Hey, Leslie.
Hi. If you know anybody who has contact lenses, I use one of these to cart my pills around in. When I don't have to have many, and they fit in your pocket. It's just a little contact lens. So it's an easy one because it's small.
Yeah.
And got the 2 compartments. So, whatever you can use, but I find that quite good because it fits in my pocket.
Yeah. And where did you put the contact lenses?
Oh, no, they weren't mine.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that's why I said find somebody who.
Yeah, that's right.
Contact lenses. So yeah, it's just useful.
Yeah, they're good.
That's
I
why
think a lot of those
to.
$2 shops as well have a lot of, they have a lot of little plastic devices like that too for storage, don't they? Yeah.
Well, Barry's got one that's about this big. It has pills in the top and water in the bottom.
Wow.
I don't know where he got it from, but it's a really good one.
Getting
Okay, so it's
flavour all
about,
the time. Yeah.
that's so big.
Yeah.
A little, ring on the top for your pills and enough room for the water underneath it.
Oh, wow. That's
It's a
good.
clever one. Yeah,
Yeah, very clever.
that's all.
And
Thanks.
I also have with me in my the little leaflet from Parkinson's that what medication you can have and not can have.
Yeah.
So, sometimes when you come to the hospital, they don't really understand or don't know, and you have to take your tablets on the dot.
Yeah.
And they think I'm a very demanding, but you have to be, because
You have to be. Yeah. You have to be your advocate and keep pushing till you get it. And that, does that also include, I'm not sure if you can see this one here, the little card that says, I have Parkinson's, and on the bottom of it, it says, I must not have Maxilon or Stematol.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what they want to give you very often too, when you come in and you don't feel well.
That's right. It's they're medications for nausea.
Yeah.
And they're dopamine antagonists, so they block what you've got. Yeah. So you say, I want the domperidone, which sounds like a classy champagne.
Wow, I have to remember that one. Yeah.
Or Metilium, it's called. But if you're nauseated, that would be the drug of choice for someone with Parkinson's. And that should be on that handout too, Lena. It says we would not recommend these, but these is what we would recommend.
And Rachel, thank you. Thanks for today, and thanks for your presentations throughout the year in these Let's Talk Parkinson's.
My pleasure, Morel. You know how much I enjoy talking and chatting with everybody as well.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you.
Thank you. And everybody have a wonderful festive season. Whether you celebrate or not, enjoy this time. Take care of yourselves and your loved ones. We're really looking forward to seeing you in the new year. I just will do a public service announcement and let you know our dates, but we'll put this all in an email. Parkinson's New South Wales will close we're all going to have a break from the 23rd of December. We'll be back on board on the 9th of January. So please be safe, be well, and enjoy. And thank you all very, very much for everything that you've done this year, and for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
See you, Morel. Bye, everybody.